Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being patient today. Hi, how are you all doing? Welcome in. I'm here again with my Cora.
Hi.
And today we are going to be continuing our lesson previously to make some VTuber models. Yes. My Cora, are you excited to start another Live2D lesson?
Yeah. I'm ready.
I'm glad because I was like, oh. I was like, oh. I'm glad to hear you're ready to learn. I kid you not. I had so many technical difficulties before starting this stream. Like literally my core and I were just hanging out in voice chat while I was trying to fix everything. And I literally I don't know why, but all of my tech just likes to break.
The scuff is real.
Well, not like the VTuber stuff. It's mostly just like other things that are just breaking, but it's whatever. It be like that some days. So I won't keep you too long with this lesson since I was taking a little bit of a while. So let's start with this: how to make a VTuber, Live2D Cubism Part 2. Just in case if anyone had missed the previous stream when I had done this, I do have a free file that all of you can download. You can either scan this QR code or you can click the link in the description down below to download Basechan. And you can kind of move along with the lesson with us. I had already provided everything that we had learned in lesson 1 in this, so you don't have to be afraid, be like, oh no, I missed out on everything that I'm behind. No, it's okay. I uploaded all of that on there, so you're welcome to download it. And real quick, thank you, Fox, for the super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you. So first things first, I would like to say that this stream is sponsored by Live2D Cubism. So I want to say thank you so much to our sponsor for this. And yeah, we'll move along as quickly as we can since I know we have a lot to cover today. Oh, let me see here. I'm on the wrong browser. Okay. So let me go into here. Okay. Alright. So today we are going to be learning, I'll be explaining what X and Y and Z means in Live2D and how it's used in other applications such as like VTube Studio. You know, the stuff that's very relevant to all of you who are trying to learn. I'm also going to show you how to create some custom mesh for eye rigging, as well as demonstrate the basics of rigging angle Z, body Z, and eye blinking. So 2 of these are going to be very quick, and the other one's going to take up the majority of the time. Can you guess which one that is, my Cora?
I'm gonna guess it's the rigging of the eyes. Yes.
Yes, that's correct, and you're going to see why. Now, I don't want to scare you about the eye rigging. It's one of those things where it takes a while if you want it to look good. You know what I mean? But we'll kind of do things more simplistic and basic, so it won't take too long. So, introduction. What is X, Y, and Z for Live2D, and how is it used in other applications? This little thing right here, you got the X, the Y, and the Z. This is straight from VTube Studio. And let's see here. So let's start with the basics, okay? What is X, Y, and Z? So sometimes you can hear this as angle X, you can hear this as body X. They both mean different things, but they essentially have the same type of movement. So X, like the X axis, whether that's angle X or body X, is moving from left and right. And then angle Y or body Y is moving up and down. And angle Z or body Z is basically like a head tilt or a body tilt. Like the body is moved in a similar way as the face angles. So as you can see over here, you might see this face angle X and param angle X. These are the inputs and outputs off of the tracking software that you're using to control your VTuber model. So right now, as I am animating and stuff, I am using a special program called VTube Studio, and it is capturing my face movements, and it's taking all the data based off of how my face is moving and then inputting that to my model. And so that's where the whole X, Y, and Z parameters come into play. When you're using Live2D Cubism, we have, I'm sure you remember those parameters where we had angle X, angle Y, and angle Z. Whatever we end up rigging for those will be translated into like whatever program you're going to be using later on, whether that's VTube Studio or other like video game applications you're going to be using. It's just data. It's information to say, hey, where is your face, or what do you want these inputs to be? Okay, this is what's going to happen up on screen then. That's kind of how, does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense.
Because I don't know why this is really difficult to explain. I feel like it's one of those things that once I show you the example here, you kind of understand. Like, for example, this is how angle X, Y, and Z are used when you're streaming with your VTuber avatar. Like, as you can see here, I'll play it again. I'm going left and right, that's angle X. I'm going up and down, that's angle Y. And I'm doing a head tilt, and that's angle Z. And you can see how like my body and my head all move together at once because it's taking all that data of just my face. That's it.
So cool though.
Yeah, it's a lot of complicated math. Like if I go back, you see these numbers here, the input and output. This is like the application determining where my face position is and then how my model should be reacting based off of those inputs, which you can like all set in here and stuff. But don't worry about this too much, okay? I don't want to like overwhelm you. This is just to kind of understand the concept of like, oh, that's how my VTuber model moves. Oh. So, the next thing that I want to do before we start getting into the Live2D Cubism program is proper mesh techniques. We talked a little bit about this in the previous lesson, but there's something that I kind of wanted to go over that I didn't get to last time. And that is manual versus auto versus the pen tool. Or well, I mean, it's not exactly called the pen tool. I'll show you what that means, but oh, I do see one question here. So from Kiwi, X, Y, and Z are typically seen as X is left and right, Y is up and down, and Z is depth, forward and backward. So I'm confused on Z for Live2D. Is it simply tilting? So that's actually interesting. So going back real quick on all the way over here. So in terms of like the movement configuration, if I were to activate this is where it's taking your camera, whether that's your webcam or your phone, and it's looking at your face position. So if instead of head turning, if I physically move my head all the way to the right, that's not tilting. That I'm not turning my head. I'm like physically moving my head to the right and to the left. Or if I'm moving it up and down and then back and forth, that is literally measuring the distance of where my face is in the tracking program. So if the tracking program realizes, oh, half of her face is cut off all the way to the right, it has physically moved all the way to the right. That's different than me turning my head left and right. So those are two different types of X. One is angle X, which is turning from left to right, which is what you're seeing me doing now. Versus if I were to enable this movement config, because I don't have it enabled, but I can enable it to demonstrate this. If I actually, not turning my head, if I just move, it's very hard to tell on my model. But I have like this floating effect going on. In fact, I might have to swap models just to show this a little bit better because it's very difficult to understand it otherwise. here, jump scare. So I'm gonna have to actually demonstrate this on the screen because this is a little confusing. Hi. It's been a while. So if I were to disable my movement configuration, which is this here in VTuber Studio, and I were to move my head left and right, I'm not moving, as you can see, at all. Now, if I were to enable and activate this, this is what happens when I literally move the position of my head left to right. You see how I'm moving? It makes like this floating effect. It's like I'm physically moving my entire
It's like you're moving
position.
your legs instead of your head.
That's a good way to
You know
put
what I mean?
it, Cora. That's a very good way to put it. Now, compared to if I'm doing angle X, which is turning my head, this has nothing to do with this up on screen, the movement config. So with Z, if we're talking about position, like the position of my face, that's where the leaning and moving forward come into play. It's how far my head is, or my face is, which you can see me getting closer and backing up. And that's because as I back up, my head gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then as I get closer, I get closer. But if we're talking about angle Z is literally tilting my face. Notice how I keep saying angle. Angle, that's the key word here. Angle is the angle that your face is at. Whereas position is where it is in movement, which is the back and the forth. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense.
I think it does.
It can definitely be, it can be a little confusing, especially when if you're very new. Ooh, if you're very new to it. Ooh. Okay. Okay. All right, there we go. I was repositioning myself. It takes a little bit of time to get used to, but like, one of them is the position of where your face is. The other one is how your face is actually moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, on to the mesh. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about like proper meshing techniques, especially when it comes to the eyes, because when we go to do the eye blinking, it's really important that we have the right kind of mesh, such as this right here is what cracking looks like. This is basically when you're trying to deform the mesh itself. It starts to like crack and look really bad and awful, and like you don't want that.
Okay, cracking bad.
Yeah, cracking is very, very bad. And then this one over here, the vertices and the edges are uneven, so it's not going to deform well. Like as you can see, these are all like, these vertices are way too close, and like the edges are way too close. It's not really like you have one vertice right here and one vertice right here, and then they connect all the way down here, compared to like the one over here. If you notice, these parts are all separated on their own little on each like object and art layer. And if you notice, it's all evenly spaced, and that means it's going to deform a lot better. So when I want to talk about earlier is the manual versus the auto meshing tool versus like, it's like a deform, it's like a pen tool. It looks like a pen. It has a specific name, which we'll show you in a moment, but it's a pen. And what I wrote here is like, you don't want to have too many polygons in your mesh. Remember, the triangle, when you have all the vertices connect to each other, that's a polygon. You don't want to have too many.
Right.
But you also want to have enough so that the object, which is the art layer, doesn't crack when deforming. You can either use the auto mesh, which is what we did in the previous lesson, or like the pen tool to quickly generate mesh and make your workflow a lot easier, which I'll show you in a moment. Some people kind of wonder, okay, well, how do I know how many polygons is too many? Well, you'll kind of know when you're trying to deform, and it's like, the more polygons, the more finer the deform's gonna be, and some stuff just doesn't need that much. The more movement and physics something's gonna have, then the better off you're making your own mesh versus the auto mesh stuff. So I have like a really quick tip. This was the pen thing that I was talking about. It's called a stroke mesh mapping. It looks like a pen in my opinion.
That's definitely a pen.
Yeah. If you have an object that has thin lines like your eyebrows, then using this tool will save you a ton of time. And the reason for that is, watch this. You just draw along the side of it, and then it makes your polygons for you just like that. Like the art mesh is just made. Yeah. Yeah. It's really, really useful for stuff like this.
That seems like a big time saver.
Mm-hmm. And of course, if you're going to be using this tool, you have to click the confirm stroke being edited. Otherwise, this won't save properly. My other really quick tip before we start making our own art mesh for the eyes is, if you want to make sure you have proper art mesh for the eyes, you want to make sure that there's no open gaps between the vertices. If you start seeing blue lines, that's like kind of a hint of like, hey, you're missing some vertices here. And if you kind of notice right here, this isn't even closed fully. And what ends up happening is when you go to export this, it's going to clip and cut off, and it's not going to look good.
I see.
The eye white, which is the sclera, needs to have enough polygons because it will be deformed a lot, but you don't want to overdo it. Like, you see this? This is overdoing it for the iris, I think.
That looks like something I 100% would do and be like, okay, good.
Yeah, it's just not necessary. Like, you don't need that much. Eyelashes can typically be auto meshed, except for like the main eyelash, which I'll show you. And again, you can make your own manual mesh if you want to, but typically for like the little eyelashes, I just auto mesh it. And if I have to make it more precise when I'm deforming it because it's not doing what I want, then I'll go in and I'll fix the mesh. Another tip is, try to keep an even distance between each verticing edge. So I would like to just say the iris can be meshed in a few different ways. I like to keep it simple like this. I'll show you how to do this right now. And will this stream be uploaded to you? I'm actually on both YouTube and Twitch today. Unfortunately, YouTube chat is broken. Remember how I said earlier I was late to stream? I was trying to get YouTube chat to work properly. I don't know why, but YouTube chat tends to it doesn't like to work sometimes for me. It's stinky. Not stinky like YouTube, but it thinks I'm stinky. Yeah, it thinks I'm stinky.
Stinky.
I tried to get YouTube chat up here today. It just didn't want to work. I'm sorry. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We are going to do the art mesh for the eyes. So, Cora, you can pull up Live2D Cubism, and we're going to make our own custom mesh for the eyes.
I'm gonna share my screen just in case I get lost and I cry.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, I have it up. Does it work?
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
Okay.
All right, so first thing is first. We already auto-generated the mesh for all of this. The ones that we're gonna redo are going to be the upper lid, the side eyelash, the iris itself, and the bottom lash. I called it like bottom lid. So why don't we start with the main eyelash? So you want to
Okay.
select the main eyelash by either clicking the object itself in the view area, or you can go under the deformer tab and go all the way down to where we had the little warp, and you can click on it right here.
My warps are open.
My warps are open. Okay.
Isn't there a way to quick close them?
Yeah, you click on the little arrow thing here.
I'm clicking, it's not working.
Let me see. Click on it again. Oh, that's right. You have an old file.
Wait. Did I not open the right one, maybe?
Yeah.
Because we did all the grouping stuff and it doesn't look like it's grouped.
Do you have the original model, the other file that you saved?
Because I just did open recent file.
Did you save it from last time?
Yeah, I remember you telling me to save it and I did.
Okay. Find the file where you that you saved. And we're just gonna click on that file itself rather than opening up recent. So do you remember where you saved it?
No. Saved it on my desktop.
Okay. You can just click out of this one and then click on the one that's on your desktop, and it'll open up Live2D Cubism for you.
What would it be called? Like a save?
It should look... Give me 1 second here. I have to hide my thing just in case if I have stuff on here. It should look kind of like something like this. It should have a big M on a file, and it should I don't know if you renamed it to something new or if you had not saved the file.
No, I remember saving it.
It's okay if you didn't. I can send you this.
Okay, wait, is this one it? Yeah. Okay, I found it.
You found? Okay.
Yes. I was like, wait.
Okay.
Here we go. It's got all the what is it called? The warping?
The deformers.
Yeah, it's got all that. Saved. Okay, I'm good.
You also stuff shared your screen.
Oh! Wait, I fixed.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
That looks a little better, right?
Yes, there we go. We're on the same file now. All right.
I almost had a panic attack.
No, you're okay. Is Cora's voice still loud, by the way? I can adjust the volumes if I need to. Just let me know if it is still a little loud. I know I sometimes talk a little bit quiet. I've been like adjusting my microphone position a couple of times, so I've been trying to, what's it called? Find like a good setting for myself. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so now you can select the main eyelash.
Okay.
And now we're going to go to this up here where it says manual mesh edit, because this one was the auto. We're going to click on the manual one. See here. Okay, cool. I was trying to make sure I wasn't looking at my screen. I was like, wait, hold on. Okay. And now, I'm gonna be honest, the auto mesh did a pretty good job at making this, because I don't know, back in the day when I first started doing Live2D, for some reason the main eyelash just never like formed properly, so I always just got kind of used. It also depends on the art style, but I had just become accustomed to making it manually myself. And so we're actually going to make it from scratch.
Okay.
So a good rule of thumb when you're making like your mesh is that you want to make sure you have some space, because if you have it way too close, it can kind of start clipping. Because you see how there's this little bit of a blur. Like, you want to make sure you're not going to have any clippings. You want to have enough space. I typically like to go like an inch out when making my mesh.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, you could probably go a little bit farther than that too. It doesn't really matter. But I like to start off with right at the point that is drawn over here. And I like to make just a line all the way down here. So you're gonna have to click on each little point. And you can try to match. You can try to match my spacing. It's not the end of the world on how it ends up getting spaced, especially since this is like a big piece. And yeah, you can just try your best. It's okay if like it doesn't look exactly like mine. I just like to make it just a little bit of a part. There we go. I'm making a straight line. We can always mess with the points of it after too. Okay. Now from here, I'm going to start going around this way. I'm going to make it about right here. Actually, I'll move that a little bit down, because I want this point to match this point here. And now here is... Actually, no, I'm going to Control Z that. I'm going to make this point right here, because I'm going to make the next point along the side of this, and then I'm going to do another one outside of this. This is how I'm personally going to go about it. Again, there's no right or wrong way. As long as you can deform it properly, then it's good. This is just how I want to do it for this particular art style. Just because it's very chunky, and sometimes like this type of like eyelash here doesn't like to deform when we do the eye blinking. So to answer your question, Kiwi, about the lashes, yes, you want to separate the actual eyelashes from the main lash here. I call this the main lash. Some people call it the eyelid or something. Everyone has different names, right? I call this the main lash, and then the small little lashes that are around it, you separate those, because when you go to do the eye blinking, there's so much movements with the eye. You want the little eyelashes to wiggle a lot, but you don't want this big part of the eyelash to wiggle that much, and you have to separate them to achieve that kind of movement, which we will cover in future lessons. So now I'm going to start going around like this. So remember how I said these are triangles?
Yes.
Okay, so when we're making the points, we don't want them to look like this, where it's matching points like this, because what happens? Like, yes, they make triangles, but that looks awful. And it's it's like a square.
It's how
yeah.
It's how I drew teeth on my drawings when I was 6.
Yeah. So my rule of thumb that I was taught way back was you want to go in between the spaces of the points that you had made. So for this one, I would want to go in between this and then in between this, while still following the outer lining of this. So in between here, and so on. This is just what I was taught when I was making my eye mesh. And this seems to work the best for me. And now, if you see here, you have all these little blue lines. This is kind of like a predicting of where the rest of the vertices are going to go. And you can just click the auto connect button. And look at that. It fills it up for you, just like that. So if you go to the tool details, you can click auto connect. You might want to like take these little like dots and like move this down a bit more.
Which one?
So it's these tiny little dots right here.
Mm-hmm.
You see how like there you go. Yeah.
Oh, why was it like that?
I don't know. That's why I was like, you might want to move this down so you can actually see your
Okay, there
buttons
we
up
go.
here. Okay.
All right.
So now
Auto connect?
Yeah, you want to click auto connect. Now you want to click on this little cursor tool here, because if you're still on this add point, it's connected to this point here that you made. So if we want to start a new area, it's going to automatically be connected to this point. When you click on this, it kind of deletes that. So now you can start your next point anywhere that you want.
Okay.
I'm actually going to move this point down a little bit right here because I want it right there by the edge. And let's see here. I want to start our next point right here. Again, I'm actually going to move that down a little bit. Because now we're going to go around this again. Because remember, I want to have enough spacing so that way when I go to export, I'm not going to have any weird clipping issues. So we are going to click on this and click on this pen that has the plus sign on it again. And now we're going to do it again. So now we're going to go outwards. I think this is like a good distance. Bleh. Actually, I kind of want to go out a little bit here because I don't want this to clip either. And now we're going to try to go in between. Don't worry about these points here. It's going to be between these points, like this new outer line that you made. So I'm going to put one right in the middle here. Put one right here, right here, right here, 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 and here, and so on. You could probably follow these parallel too if you wanted to. And there you go. And then I'm going to press auto connect. Cool. Now I'm going to hit this little cursor tool up here, the selection tool. Because now we're going to start going the other side. So now we're going to go along this edge. So we're going to start back at this point. This point is getting used a lot if you couldn't tell.
Yes, yes.
And now we're going to go in between these points here, but alongside the outer edge here.
Okay.
So we're going to start like this and go here. Point out, in between. And since this art mesh is kind of drawn like this, I'm actually going to cut over. I'm going to move this point a little bit more and then cut over like this, because when we go out around again, this point will get covered.
Oh, I see.
This is just how I drew the eye. So, let's see here. Go all the way around. Some eyes are drawn in a certain way that makes it so much easier, and then I've seen some other art styles that are drawn way more complex. Like, I noticed that a lot of Western art styles are interesting to rig, is the way that I'll put it, because of how the eyes are drawn. But that's just how the art styles are sometimes. And like how I'm doing this mesh for this eye is not how I would do it for other art styles. It really just depends on how it's drawn. Okay, so I put this point out here. And then I'm gonna put it right here and connect that. Okay. So now we can auto connect that. And look at that. It's coming together.
Ooh, we're doing it.
Yep. Now we just got to do the outside so that way we're not, running into the issue of clipping. So I'm going to the selection tool again, and we're gonna start back at this point. Just because it's a little bit easier. Alright, so now I'm trying to make it a little bit even of a distance here. Now we're gonna go in between all of these vertices. We're gonna go like this. And we'll go all the way around. So because this part is really big, I'm actually gonna do 2 more extra points. Like I'm gonna have a point right here that's like parallel to this point right here. And then I'm gonna move it over here. Well, actually, you could have another point if you wanted to. Like, you could put another one right here and then go over. Should be okay. I mean, if it starts deforming weird, we can always remove this point. That's the best part. Is like, you can't really predict how it's going to deform until you start working with it. So, yeah.
Trial and error.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, you got the right idea. That's the fun part about rigging. So you ever wonder why models cost thousands of dollars? It's because this can take hours to do if you want to be super precise in order to achieve a very high quality movement. And yes, the auto mesh did a really good job at it. If I was in a hurry, the auto mesh would have been good enough and we could have just started like deforming the eye just as it is. But I wanted to make sure I have an even amount of points because when I was doing my example file earlier for the eye blinking, which I'll show you in a second, I'll show you how I just kept it as the auto mesh and I was kind of struggling a little bit, which is why I was late for the stream because it took me like 2 hours trying to get it to look the way I wanted it to look. And I think over here, I'm going to leave it out like that. So that way I can connect it like this. And now we're going to hit auto connect. And boop. Look at that. I'm going to hit the selection tool and I am going to connect these 2 points because there is a tiny bit of the object that is sticking out and I don't want that. Protect your object. All right. And there you go. You've created your own manual mesh. Good job, Cora.
Oh, I did it.
Yeah. Now that we're done with this, we're going to hit the little check mark right here. Yes, and now you have
so
nice
pretty.
mesh. Now compare that one to this over here. It's not that different. But, you know...
Yeah.
It's not that different. It's not that different. Well, there is some differences. We have like a main line right here in the middle. Whereas this one, it does it like this and then this, which is fine. We could have meshed it like this. There's a reason why we're not, though, because like I said earlier, this example file here, when I went to go do the eye blink, it did not want to work well with me at all. And yes, it is the default one that I had auto mesh. So yeah, I'm hoping now when we go to do this, it's going to play a little nicer. And you'll see why. You're going to see how I had this main line here. There's a reason for that. And it's going to have to do with when we start doing the eye close. So, I personally think this is okay, but for today's lesson, we're gonna make it manually. Because again, I was having issues with this little part right here too. This little lash. So, we're gonna take the little eraser tool and we're just gonna erase all of that. You wanna make sure there's no little, little dots on the screen. Yeah.
Got it.
Now, we're gonna do the little points. I'm gonna start all the way up here, up top. And I'm just gonna go straight down. And I'm gonna go around like this. And we're just gonna connect all the little points to be parallel like that towards each other. It's fine. I'm not trying to be as precise for this one. I just wanted it to look a little bit better because when I had to deform it, in a bit, it'll be a lot easier. So now that I've kind of outlined the skeleton, I am gonna go on the outside in between those other points that I made. Between all of these points right here. Okay, and now I'm gonna auto connect. And I think this is gonna deform a little bit better for us. It'll be a little bit better. And then you just auto connect, and then you press the blue checky mark. Yeah. All right. Now, and if you're wondering how I'm solo selecting this, I click on the object and I press S, and then it isolates it so you only see this. Just in case you're wondering how I'm doing that. Yeah, it makes it easy to see.
Good tip.
Yeah. This one looks... This one's okay. I didn't have any issues when I was trying to do that one earlier. And this one's actually, it's not bad. It could be more refined, but it's not bad. It's fine. And then this one is also fine. Yeah, these ones are fine. Now the bottom one. So I will say when I had drawn this, I did not separate these up from each other because the trick I'm going to show you, it doesn't matter. You could separate them if you wanted to. Like you could have this one its own layer, this one its own layer, and this one its own layer. But let me show you what little trick I got up here. So let's go into the little manual mesh. This was pretty close, I'll say. Like this was at a good job getting it, but it's just not all there. So if you click on the lasso tool, you can like lasso this all and then delete.
Ooh.
So we're gonna use that little pen tool, the stroke mesh mapping.
Okay.
And so we're gonna start from the point all the way at the beginning here, and we're gonna draw. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're just gonna draw over here and then let go. And now these little green dots right here, we can control the positioning of it. If we wanted to add like another point here to control it more precisely, we can. The reason why I wanted you to move these little dots down here is because this would get eaten up. So you have to like move the inspector all the way down here so you can see all of this.
Yeah.
So you have the mesh width and the repeated density. You see how if I hover over it, you have the cursor changes a little bit. If I were to click and hold and move my cursor up and down, it changes the size, the width of how far apart it is. Remember, we don't want it to be too close. It works, but this makes me paranoid, so I don't like to have it that far. I like to kind of keep it out just a little bit like that. And then the repeated density is how many polygons show up in it. So the bigger, the less, like,
oh my
density.
Goodness.
And then if you go down, it gets more refined. And remember, you don't need to have it like this.
All of the triangles.
I think 10 is honestly 10 or 11
like
is
10.
Fine.
10's a good number.
And then the number of vertices in mesh width, if you click on 3, you see how it becomes a lot more precise. You want that one for this because remember how we did the main upper lash here? I had a middle kind of go right in the center of that lash. I'm doing the same thing for the bottom lash. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is because when we go to close the eye, this little path right here, the way the edges all connect in these vertices, is going to be key to allow us to mesh it, allow us to deform it the way I want it to look without it cracking and stuff.
Gotcha.
So I like this. And I'm actually going to make this a little bit tighter by taking the green dot and moving it a little closer. So that way it's not too close to that. Same thing over here. Yeah. And these little circles right here, If I were to see, if I were to hold control and then click on this, you see how it's making this part thinner, but not over there? If I control Z that. If you don't hold the control, it doesn't know you're selecting it. So, oh gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Control Z that. So you have to hold down control, and then yeah, you can like actually move it manually for the width if you wanted to. So now that we're done with this, we're gonna have to click confirm stroke being edited. And now for these little parts right here, I'm gonna make them manually. So we're gonna go to our little dot signs. We're not clicking on any of these points. I do not want these connected to this. I want these to be their own separate art mesh.
Oh, where'd mine go?
Did you click on the check mark or did you click on the... Oh, so this is fun. So remember how I said it's really important to make sure there's no closed gaps when you're making your art mesh?
Yes.
So this is what happens if you don't make art mesh for this. So Cora did this. She confirmed it and then she clicked on this. Watch what happens. It disappeared.
Oh.
Because we didn't make a mesh around that part of the art layer. So it doesn't exist anymore.
So I should control Z that.
No. It's okay.
Oh.
We can just go back into the manual mesh and well, actually, yeah, we'll have to control Z it for you because you probably don't remember the positioning for this. You could just do this where you click the points and you just kind of make that again and it'll reappear.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, that's just because I remembered where the art is. But yes, we can go back into the edit and now we can erase this because I don't want those connected. And now we're going to make these manually.
I gotta remake the thing again.
Oh, you undid all of it.
I controlled Z a little too hard.
That's okay.
When did we do the pen, right? Yeah.
Yep. And then you just draw a little line around it.
Oh, geez.
Here, I'll show you again because I see you're struggling there. So we're gonna click on the stroke mesh mapping tool, and we're gonna hold down the button as you drag along. Because if you just do this, it's thinking that you're making a new thing.
Oh, I see.
So that's why you have to. Yeah. And see what happens if you don't click the confirm stroke being edited button. It's like, hey, it's not done. Do you want to keep editing? So I'm going to dispose of that. And now we're going to go over again. And now we're going to keep it back like this. And I'm going to move this forward down a little bit more. Move this closer. Okay. Now, Cora. Okay. Don't click the check. Click confirm stroke being edited. Click that. Okay. Now, let's make the manual mesh for this part here. Okay. Actually, I don't like how close this point is. I'm going to take the selection tool and I'm going to just move this manually down. Because I just think it's a little too close. And then I'm going to click off to the side here so that's not selected anymore. Because when it's red, it means it's selected, and I don't want that.
Okay.
So now I clicked on the little plus button here. I'm going to make this just kind of going around it as best as I can. And then I'm going to just... It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want it to be isolated like this. And then I'm going to press Auto Connect. And then I'm going to press the Selection tool. Click on the add point tool again, and now I'm going to go around this one. Being careful not to make sure that these connect to each other because I do not want that. And yeah, we'll just auto connect that. The reason why I don't want these connected is, remember, whatever is has art mesh around it, it exists, right? Technically, these are empty spaces. But if I were to have all of this connected like I did earlier, this takes up way more space. And It kind of does weird things when I go to like deform it later because of how I drew it. Again, I could have separated these, but I really don't want to have to manually move each little piece. It's kind of a pain and it takes up more time. It's not necessary. So now that we have all of this here, we can click the blue check, and now we have our bottom lid.
Nice.
And now the last one I want to do for the manual here is going to be the side lash, because we're going to go into the iris next. We want to do this one next.
Okay.
This one's super easy. We can erase all of this. We're going to use the stroke mesh mapping tool.
Okay.
And we're going to start from this point down here and go up. And then I'm going to make the mesh width way bigger. And I'm going to actually add another point right here just so I can control it a little bit better. Yeah. And we're going to make it a little bit bigger so that way it goes out just like that. I'm going to move this little circle right here. And I'm going to move this point right here. And so remember earlier how I said if you control these little circles by holding the control button, you can make this part thinner? I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't need the bottom part here to be that wide. It's going to crack. So we're going to make it a little bit closer so it's more fine. And we'll click confirm stroke being edited. I'm going to go to the selection tool here. And I'm going to make this move up just a little bit. Just because I think it's a little too close. I'm gonna move this over a little.
Can I delete the green points if there's too many?
Yeah. It's gonna be the delete point edge. Oh, actually, wait. I'm trying to remember how you do it. Let me see. Let me select all of this. You're asking if you can delete these like green points if you made too many of them?
Yeah.
So if you hold down if you hold down Alt and then click on the green thing, it gets rid of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if you want to add, you just click. Yeah, so I'm gonna make it that. And then we're gonna hold down Control to make this part thinner. And actually looks better than how I did it a moment ago. Yeah. Okay, now we'll confirm. We'll go to the selection tool. And I think this should be fine. If I wanted to make this a little bit thinner, I could just do a selection tool and just grab these 2 points and then hold shift and move it a little bit closer. And then click on the side here. And then I can click on this point, hold shift, and then move this down. The reason why you want to hold shift is because it makes it move linear, so that way you're not, there's no control.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with this here. I'm going to hold down shift and move this up. Hold shift and move this. Actually, I'm not going to hold shift for this one. And then I'm going to click on this, hold shift, move that over. Click on this, hold shift, move that over. And do this just to make it a little bit more closer and neater. Okay. And that looks fine to me. So now, in case if you're like wondering, if you click on this and then also this, sometimes it will multiple select like this. So you want to click away and then click again. All right, now we can click the little blue check.
Blue check.
And now we can start making the art mesh for the iris. And yes, can you believe we've already spent like, I don't know, 30 minutes on this part.
That's yeah, and we've done like 4 things.
This is because I'm also showing it to you. Like, if you're like if you've been working on this for a long time, again, I would have auto meshed this and just kind of started working and then manually edited as I went along, or I would have used the little stroke tool and all that stuff. And once you do this more often, you're gonna go by so much faster about making all of this. So this is your first time, so you're doing fine. Now we're gonna make our iris. This isn't terrible, but there's a better way to do this, in my opinion. If you go back to the little PowerPoint here, not this part, this part right here, we're gonna make it look like this.
Okay.
So, use the little lasso tool to get rid of all of this and delete it. And we're gonna start with a single point right in the center. It's okay if it's not exactly in the same center as me, just a center. And now we're gonna go all around. Being mindful of the distance. It's fine if it's a little bit more, a little bit less. It's not at the end of the world. This to be more parallel. Okay, so I've done this a bunch of times, so I'm trying to match it parallel to these points to help me keep it as even as I can, because I am making this manual, so. You can also enable a grid on here if you wanted to, if you want to be that precise. Which I could probably show you how to do that. So if you go to show up here on the tab and you do grid, you do show grid. And look at this now for anyone who really wants to be precise when making their mesh and you want to count the little boxes and stuff, you can. Do you need to? No, you really don't. It's just like, it's just to help you if you're struggling. It's just good guides. Like, look, see how I was a little bit off and stuff? I also included another point right there too, so yeah. Yeah. Not completely necessary, of course, but if this makes you feel more comfortable and you want to spend a lot of time on making your mesh, then go ahead. Yeah, okay, this is a little bit more evened out. Yeah. Okay, now we're gonna go. We're gonna go to this point down here. Because I'm actually gonna end up deleting this because actually I have it like this. So you see how like the art mesh is like this? So we're gonna delete this point, but not yet. I'm not point. We're gonna delete this vertice, but not yet. I'm just gonna have this be our little landing spot. So now we're gonna start here and we're gonna go along the edges of the eye right here.
Okay.
In between these spaces. Just like, actually, you don't have to go along the edge if you don't want to. I did it like this and it's fine. So we just go a little bit
you went
inside.
in a little more?
Yeah, because because Basechan is super simplistic, there's not a lot of eye details. There's like no eye details, but if I had like a super painted, especially Western style eye, then yeah, I would go along the edge and then I would do another layer around it just because I wanted to have more control, but we don't need to do that for Basechan. We can keep it nice and simple. So we can go a little bit in. Doesn't have to be perfect either. You just want to make sure that they're in between the points because you want to have nice little triangles. Happy triangles.
Be happy, happy.
And now I am gonna go to the little minus button up here, and we're gonna click on this so it deletes it. And now we're gonna go back to the plus and then connect that. And now we could auto generate this, but you see how like these blue lines are predicting it's gonna look a little sus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do instead is just connect these little points. If you just to ensure that it goes the way I want to. You could just auto mesh it and then just erase some of the lines. It's up to you. Whatever makes you more comfortable. Because sometimes when you're trying to do that, you could accidentally make another point. If you're not too careful, that's why I zoomed in. And now I'm gonna auto mesh the rest. Not auto mesh, auto connect the rest. And double check that this all went nice. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Was that necessary? No, I could have just autoed it and then just erased it and then reconnected it. Would have been faster. But it's done! Actually, I'm going to move this point a little bit closer. Just because I feel like it's a little too much out. Okay, and now you're done. And don't worry, Cora. I'm not going to make you do all that for this one because we don't need to. You might want to hit Control S to save. Always save your work. Yeah.
Save.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Now that we have done all of that, I believe we can move on to the next part. Because, yeah, I think the eye white is fine. Yeah, it's fine. We don't need to do this anymore. So, now we can move on to the next part.
Hey.
Which is going to be some actual rigging. So you might be wondering, how come we're not just going to start doing the eye close just yet? Because I feel like I want to save that for the end, because rigging angle Z and body Z is not going to take long at all. So I want to get through this really quickly. Also, thank you so much, Gary, for the donut. I appreciate that. Thank you. Let me take a sip of my drink before we get into this part.
Yes. Hydrate.
Okay. Rigging angle Z. This is not position Z where it's going from closer to far apart. We actually don't have to worry about any of that. That gets taken care of with your webcam or your phone within like an application like VTuber Studio. It's just measuring, how far and how close are your face. We actually don't have to worry about that. There are things that we could do in the future for more advanced techniques on how the model responds based off of how close or how far your face is, as well as like the position of X and Y. We do not need to worry about any of that. That is way more advanced. We are solely focusing on tilting your head, like actually tilting it from side to side. That's what angle Z is. So to do this, we're going to select the face rotation deformer. We're going to click on angle Z in the parameter over here. You want to make sure that you select the little green dots, and we're going to set the values up top here. And I'm actually going to show you how to do it. It's going to look like this. Yeah, okay. Head tilting. So this is how we do it. So we're going to go selecting, what did I say it was? It was the face rotation. The face rotation deformer that we had made in the previous lesson. You know, this one. Not the neck one, the face one.
Yeah.
We're going to go to face, the little folders that we had made. Under our parameter palette. And we're going to click angle Z, which it looks like I had done that. So, okay. So we're going to click on angle Z.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to select these 3 little green dots up here because this is going to add 3 keyforms. A single dot is a key. So right here, it starts off in the middle. This is your default pose, which is why she's just like this. Now, if I click on the right one, and by the way, I'm clicking on him not with my left click. You do not want to do that. You want to click on it with your right mouse click because it snaps it. Otherwise, if I clicked on it with my left, I can't tell if I'm actually selecting that point or not. So you want to...
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you want to click on it with the right mouse click so it snaps to it and you know it's highlighted.
Gotcha.
And now that we're over here, we can either take this and like tilt it like that, or because this is an angle rotation, because this is a rotation deformer, we can actually just use numbers over here, the little angle in the inspector palette, and we can just type in how far we want it to tilt. I'm going to select 15, and then I'm going to press enter. And I like that. Now, we can go over to the other side of it and right-click that. See how it resets? Because we haven't moved it. We haven't set any...
Haven't set the key yet.
Exactly. Yes. Animations, you know? And now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to do -15 because that's the opposite. Now, there's another way to... There's another way to do this too. So I'm going to delete these and redo it. Let's say I have this at 15. Now, if I'm on this point here, I can go up to this little hamburger sign and I can click on reflect motion. And it's going to reflect it horizontally. If I were to press OK, it just took the movement and reflected it horizontally, which means it flipped it. So, yeah, that's another way to do it. So that way you don't have to manually reset it and it's faster. We're going to use that quite often in with rigging for certain stuff. Makes it faster. All right. Guess what? You did it. You did the first part of rigging the face. We're all done. That's it. That's all we have to do for this.
That was it? That was easy.
Yep. Yep. That's why I said I wanted to get this done first before we do the eye stuff, because it's going to take a little bit more time. Okay, so... there's a couple of different ways to rig the body Z. I know some people call it Z. I understand like that seems to be a popular terminology. I don't call it that. I just call it Z instead of Z. I don't know. I think it's like an accent thing or something, but I just call it Z. So in case if anyone's wondering, why isn't she calling it Z? I don't call it Z. It's just my personal preference. So there's 2 ways to rig body Z. This is option 1, where remember that warp deformer that we had made in the beginning? You can actually like use that to do like a body tilt where the body's actually tilting from the side. I'm gonna be honest, I hate this method because I feel like it takes a lot of time using the warp deformer. So I came up with these, well, I didn't come up with it. There's a second option that I like to do, which involves a rotation deformer. It's a lot faster. It's rotation and warp. You still have to use a warp deformer that we had made with the legs. And so this is the option that I prefer to use. I will say after this lesson is over, I will include lesson 2 in all of this, where I had done the warp deformer version and the rotation deformer version. So this one here if you look, this one I did with warp deformers. So I did do this. And as you can see here, I got myself a nice little body tilt. It looks kind of wonky. The thing with the warp deformers is that you can get really precise with it. Like if I took my time, I would warp this a little tiny bit, and then I would go through each little part of the body and like, you know, carefully move each little art mesh here to make it look really, really nice. This was just kind of a quick job that I did for this lesson. And then on the other file that you'll also get when you download lesson 2 after this stream is I did it where we had a rotation deformer and then I did a warp deformer for the legs. And this is how this one looks. You see how nicer this one looks?
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so I think for what I'll have you do, Cora, is this version because I suck at this one. Like, because I was trying to rush. I'm terrible at this one, so I'm trying not to make myself look bad here. So if you are one of the amazing Live2D modelers who can make this version work where you like to do the little minute details, kudos to you. Like, you get a cookie. So how we're gonna do this one is we are going to go over to where our body warp Z is. So our body warp Z right here, we're going to click on this one and we're going to make a new deformer and we're going to name this body Z. Sorry, not a warp deformer, a rotations deformer. We're going to make a rotations deformer.
Wait, where is it?
So you want to click on body warp Z under the deformer palette. Then you want to go over to your toolbar up here and create a rotation deformer.
Ah.
And then you're going to name this body Z. And it's going to be a parent of the selected object because remember, this is becomes the child. So this can be the parent. We're going to press create. Now, we need this to go all the way down to the belly button. So we have to hold down Control and Shift because we want it to go down linear. All the way down to where you think the belly button is. The grid really helps. And yeah, look at this. Ah, so we're gonna go over.
Sorry.
Did you make it bigger?
Yeah, I did. She got really close for a second there.
It's okay. Okay. Now we're going to go over to the parameter palette. We're going to click on the body folder that we had made. And then we're going to go on to body Z. Click on the 3 green dots. The reason why we're doing 3 is because this is the neutral default base. And we have, you know, body tilt right and body tilt left.
It went back up to her nose. Did I?
You might have controlled Z a little too much. So, okay, before you do... Cora accidentally had hers up here. So you see why it's important to make sure you don't have these keys loaded, because look at that, because I moved the default thing. So what I'm gonna do is on the default base, I'm gonna just remove all the keyframes, and now we're gonna do that again. So Control Shift, click on this. Oh, actually, you want to click on it first.
What the?
Control. If it helps, so that way you're not selecting everything else, you can lock these. Like if you don't want to accidentally click on the eye, you can actually lock the layer by clicking this little lock button, and it will make it so that way you can't select that.
Yeah, it took me off the body warp Z thing. Do I need to click this tool again?
Yes, you got to recreate it. So you want to
we just did body Z, right?
Yep.
Create.
Okay.
Okay.
Now you want to make sure you're selecting this up here to make sure it is selected. And you can zoom in if you have to. You want to click on this, hold Control Shift, and move it down. Of course, I didn't do it right. Control Shift, and then move it all the way down to about right here.
Okay.
Now you want to make sure that you still have this selected. So Make sure it's selected up here. And now you're going to click on body Z. And you're going to press the 3 dots.
Okay.
The reason why we want the 3 dots is because if we did the 2 dots, well, now there's no default. There's no default position.
I see.
And you will use 2 dots for some stuff. It just depends on what it's going to be. We're going to use it for eye blink. So now we have the 3 dots. I'm going to right click this to make sure this is my default position. Now I'm going to move over here and right click it. And I'm going to use the angle part up here because I don't want to drag it around. I'm going to do, let's see what 15 looks like. Okay. Did I do that for this one? I don't remember which one I went with. I did do 15. So I could just do 10 if I don't want it to be that strong. Like if I want to do 10, it's like a, a slight tilt. Kind of depends on the model, depends on like what movements you want to achieve. Because she's a little chibi, we can really deform chibi models because they're so they're so putty and they're just so pudgy and stuff. So we can really deform them. So I'm going to go all in and do 15. We're going to make it super exaggerated.
Yeah.
And so you'll notice here, I didn't actually move the body over at all. I kind of kept it locked in place. If we wanted to, if we really wanted to make it super exaggerated, not only can we do this angle, we could actually take this by holding, by clicking this part and using shift and then actually moving it over. We can either make it look, nice like this where it's just the body, but that looks kind of sus, but we can move it all the way over like this if I really wanted to get a lean in. I don't really want to do that though. I want to keep it nice and simple for us. I'm going to Control Z that.
Yeah.
We're just going to focus on moving it like this because, well, I guess actually we could move it just a little bit because it makes warping the legs a little bit easier. We'll move it a little bit like that. So that way she moves a little bit. I think we will move it over a bit more. We will move it over to where the legs are.
A little bit?
Yeah. So that way it's a little broken right here, but it's fine because we're about to fix that.
Okay. So
now, at this position, we're now going to select the lower body warp Z. This is for the legs. Okay. And we're going to right click on the center here. And we're going to select the 3 dots. And then we're going to right click over here to snap it. And now we're going to start actually manipulating this. So I see that Cora's warp deformer looks like this. So if you go over to the inspector palette where it says Bezier divisions number, it says 2 by 2. We're actually going to make it 2 by 3. And you see how these little green little thingies? I call a lot of stuff thingies. They're the Bezier divisions. What Bezier divisions do is it controls, it's a little hard to see with the grid, so let me take this off. What the Bezier divisions does is it controls a range of points over here. So I can either manipulate it like this, where it's doing a bunch of different points, compared to doing one singular point.
Oh, I see.
Yes. It's a good way to get a nice smooth movement for certain sections of your art mesh. So, and because I selected this how it's purple right now, that means I'm about to deform that, so I don't want that to happen. So I'll just click off of that and re-click this to reset that.
Okay.
So now we're going to go all the way back over here again, and we're going to start deforming these parts here to make this leg connect back to this. So I'm going to be taking this green corner and then holding shift to go down a little. and then go inward. And then I'm going to take this point over here, hold shift, and go inward. The reason why I'm doing shift is because it moves it in a linear position. It kind of helps give me a bit more control. So imagine how, okay, for anyone who is wondering, why are you going down and inward? Because when we are tilting our body to the side like this, I want you to stand up and actually tilt your body. Like, everybody, come on, stand up.
On your feet.
Stand up and actually tilt your body.
I'm tilting.
Notice how when you are tilting your body, the part that you are tilting your body is going down, because that's how hips work. Your hip is going down while the other hip is going up. Your butt on the opposite side here, opposite side over here, is going up and out. That booty cheek is going out, while this booty cheek is getting sunken in. So, in case if you're wondering why I am moving this part down, that's because that's how bodies work. Gosh, I sound so condescending saying that, but like some people don't understand, like why, and that's why, and that's why. If you ever get lost on how something should look, just take a video of yourself or take photos of yourself and move your body in the positions that you want it to look, and that's like a great guide to kind of help your brain conceptualize why bodies move the way they do. So, with that being said, we have this moving down, and we can even move this part down just a very tiny bit, and then take this side and just move it in, because technically your leg would be moving down a little bit, but we don't want the foot to move down too much, which is why I'm not touching any of this, because we're just tilting a little bit. So now that we got that part here, we're going to take this part over here on this corner, and we're going to make it move out. I'm holding shift every time I move these points. We're actually going to move this up. Now we're going to take this point, hold shift, and move this out a little bit. Because, as you can see, and you see how like this is breaking now? So we want to take this back up here on this point, and we want to move this inward a little bit. And move it up a little bit more. Move it inward a little bit more. So it's nice and voluptuous. I don't know how you say that word.
Voluptuous, I think, is right.
Yeah. Now I'm going to take this part and move this out too. You see how like I'm controlling different parts of the bezier?
Mm-hmm.
And how that controls different parts of these points?
Mm-hmm.
There is no right or wrong way. I'm literally manipulating the art mesh until I think it looks good, until I am satisfied with it. And that's kind of how I'm going about this. So, Cora, it's okay if yours doesn't look exactly like mine. Like, as long as it looks good to you, that's all that matters. So, a little tidbit right here. You see let's look at the crotch. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I know this is sponsored, but this is for educational purposes.
Yes.
So, do you notice how the line art is kind of breaking right here?
Mm-hmm.
Now, naturally, in human anatomy, if you tilt your body, is this supposed to go into your leg like that? Kinda, but not really, right?
Yeah.
So we have to fix that.
Not really.
So yeah, we have to fix that. That's where the middle part of this comes into play. So I can move this over just a little bit. You want the movement to feel natural, even though this is a chibi, so you can get away with like it not being perfect. think I'm gonna move this just a little bit more. So I'm having a hard time controlling these points because I don't have enough points. So how do I get more points? Well, the number of conversion divisions controls how many points you're controlling within that art mesh. So if you make this more points appear. Right now it's set to 5 by 5, but I kind of want a little bit more. So I think I'm going to make this 6, and I'm going to make this one 7. And now I have a bit more points to control. So now I'm going to right click on this again to make sure I'm still selecting this. Now when I go to move this over, there's more precision. Do you see that now? How there's more precision? I'm actually going to take this and move this up. And I'm going to take this part and move this just a little bit over like that. And now look, that feels a lot more natural.
Yeah.
But we're still not done just yet. I feel like this part, like this little lower part of the leg, should pop out just a little bit more. I feel like that would be a little bit more natural. So yeah. Thank you so much, Nara, for gifting a membership, by the way. Thank you. All right, I'm going to stick this out just a little tiny bit. And then I'm going to take this part and just move this up. And just out slightly. Let's see how that looks. Yeah! Yeah! Look at that! Hey, we did it! Let's go! So now, how are we going to do the other side? Because the other side's not done at all. So we're going to go back to body Z. And we can either go over here and do -15 again. Or we can go over to this point, go to the hamburger, do reflect motion and do reflect horizontally, press OK. And now we got this part moving, but now we don't got the legs. So how do we do that? Do we have to do all that all over again? No. No. You're about to see why this whole horizontal reflection is going to be so useful. We're going to go back to this. The lower body warp Z. So you want to select, Cora, the lower body warp Z deformer.
Okay.
And now we're going to go back to this point here and right click it. And we're going to go to the hamburger sign, click on reflect motion.
Oh, I was just going to ask if we could do it with everything we already did.
Yes, we can. And we're going to reflect horizontally. And now, look at that. We don't have to do any extra work.
Wait, mine did not do it.
Go back to your body Z rotation deformer. Under the deformer palette, go back to your body Z. The rotation deformer you just made. Okay. Now, let me see. What you did over here versus what you did over here. Okay. So what I'll have you do is I'll have you press Control Z.
All right.
Hit Control Z again. Okay, now go back to your body Z rotation deformer. Z. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so show me your body Z right now. If you go over to the side, does it do anything? Okay, Control Z one more time. Okay, now show me this again. Okay, Control Z one more time. Now show me this again. Cool, so now we're on the same exact page. Okay.
Okay.
So, make sure body Z, the rotation deformer, is selected. Now we're going to go to this point here and right click it. We're going to go up here to the hamburger sign. Click reflect motion. And then we're going to reflect horizontally. And now show me the movement here. Okay, perfect.
broke a little bit.
Yes, that's okay. It's okay if it's broken.
Okay.
Because we haven't reflected this deformer yet.
Oh, I see. I
So
see.
now click on lower body warp Z in the deformer palette.
Okay.
And then you're gonna right click over here.
Yep.
You're gonna go to the hamburger sign.
Mhm.
We're gonna click reflect motion, and then we're gonna reflect horizontally again and press OK. Now show me that.
There we go.
So what ends up happening sometimes, it's very important that you are selecting the correct deformer and you're selecting the keys correctly, because what can sometimes happen is, what I think happened was Cora had reflected the lower body warp Z first before she reflected the rotation deformer. And so because of that, even though these two are two separate things, it didn't quite reflect nicely.
Yeah, I think I did it backwards.
It's okay. It happens sometimes. Sometimes it works like that. That's why I was like, all right, we're going to undo all of that and redo it. Hey, that's okay. So now you want to hit Control S to save your work, because we are now done with body Z.
We did it.
Yes. We are now done with all of that. So now we can focus the rest of this stream on eye blinking. And don't worry, we will take our time with this for eye blinking. How to make your eyes blink. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to select the eyelash object here, this main one, and we're going to add it to the blink parameter. Remember how I said sometimes you have 2 keyframes compared to 3? This is going to be one of them. We can have more keyframes for eye opening, but for the simplicity of this live stream and our time, so we're not here all night, we're just gonna do 2. And we're going to end up moving the eyelash down. We're gonna deform the actual art mesh itself. We're not gonna use a deformer like a warp deformer or anything. You absolutely, yes. I have seen Live2D modelers use a warp deformer on eye blinking. I've never done that personally. I think that could be a very interesting challenge. I think it's a lot easier to manipulate the art mesh itself. Typically, you don't want to manipulate the art mesh itself unless if you really have to. Eye blinking would be one of those instances.
Okay.
And yeah, I'll walk you through all of this and everything. So before we get into that, you're kind of noticing on my slides here, I have all these different options on how you can do this. I wrote how you can use a temporary deform path tool or a deform path edit. This one is the deform path edits. This one over here, this is the temporary deform path tool, which you could go into the settings and do, that I have right here. And you're probably thinking, even with the body Z that we did earlier, why are there so many freaking options? And it's because Live2D has no right or wrong way to go about rigging. You can achieve the same look by utilizing different tools. Mind you, I didn't have all of these tools back in the day when I first used Live2D Cubism. This tool right here, the temporary deform path tool, this one right here, this didn't exist when I first rigged Mari 1.0. That didn't exist, and I wish it did. It would have made things so much easier. But it works the same way as this tool here. We're actually going to use this tool here because this is the one I'm more familiar with. What matters the most is how comfortable you are. Like, you know, it also depends on how the model art was drawn, how it was cut up, what specific movements you're trying to achieve, different tools for different things. The best way I can summarize it is that tools are meant to be used, not feared. So that is why there are so many different ways to do the same thing.
Like that.
Yeah.
Tools are meant to be used, not feared.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, it's time to rig the eyes. Actually, before we get into that, I have to use the litter box. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I promise I'm not trying to keep this stream too long for all of you. I really have to use the litter box though. So we will be right back. Please get yourself a drink, get yourself a snack, and we will get into showing you how to do eye close. And as a little bonus, because I have to go use the litter box, I will show you how to do eye smile. So we'll be right back. All right, I am back. Cora had to get something to drink and stuff, and now we can continue the lesson. Cora, are you ready to start doing some eye blinking?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, so we have done body Z. We have also done angle Z. So now, look at that. All right. You can click on the hamburger sign and do reset to default values. It resets it. So we're going to click add a face. We're going to click add a body. We're going to open up the eyes folder under the parameter palette. And now we're going to start doing the eye close. So we're going to just click on like any part of the eye. It doesn't matter which one. I just want to open up the IR warp contents. Thank you for the welcome back, by the way. So now, under IR warp, if you remember, we made an eyeball R warp. I want you to open that one up. And we're going to click from up here. We're going to hold down shift and go all the way down to iris. We're going to click on all of that.
Okay.
And then we're going to go down to IR open. We're going to click on this under the parameter. And we're going to click on the 2 dots. And now you can click off here. The 1 and the 0 represents opened and then closed. We're going to first start off with moving the main eyelash down. So a typical rule of thumb when you're doing eye open and close is usually I'm just demonstrating this. You don't have to follow this. I'm just demonstrating. Usually you take the main lash, you move it down, and you're going to deform it and stuff. I like to move it about halfway. And a really important note is to have the end points here be very close to where they started off. So as you're going to be deforming it, you're going to be thinking, oh, I can't remember where this part is up here. What I like to do to kind of help guide me is I like to take the upper lid, hit Control C, and hit Control V to duplicate a second lid. You might want to do that, Cora. It's going to help you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So Control C, Control V.
Okay.
Cool. So now you're going to take not the one that you just copied because that's what's currently selected. You want to go below it.
Okay.
And hit S to solo it. Because it's going to be a little bit easier to do this. So, remember how I said like there's 2 different ways that you could do this? You could also do a warp deformer if you really wanted to. We're not going to do that. We're going to manipulate the actual art mesh itself. And we're going to be using a deform path edit.
Ooh.
This is just what I'm familiar with. So this is what we're going to use for today's lesson. We're going to click on that. And you're going to notice you have a new little pen. Another pen tool. I'm going to start all the way outside of the art mesh area and click. Then I'm going to click at the point here. Like right there at this point, I can actually move this right here. And then I'm going to move along up to this area here. So I'm going to click. Remember that why we spend so much time making that art mesh to have this straight line here? This is going to be our guide for this tool. So the next point I'm going to click on is up here. And the reason why I'm not clicking a bunch of different dots is because we don't need that many control points. I'm going to move another one somewhere about here, I think is fine. And then I'll move all the way down here and then go out a little. And now that we're done with this, we're going to click the deform path edit. Actually, sorry, not that one. We're going to click the arrow tool up here to deselect that. I'm going to zoom out. And now I'm just going to click outside here just so I can deselect all of that. And now I'm going to click the upper lid again. And now, currently we're on eye open. So we're going to go to the key down here by right clicking. Because this is going to be our closed keyframe.
Mm-hmm.
And you see how there's a center dot right here? This is where I'm going to left click and hold shift and move it down. So about halfway. I like to move in the linear fashion so that way I'm more precise about it. So yeah.
You said about halfway?
About halfway. Make your best judgment for it. We're gonna end up deforming it anyways.
Okay.
Now, the way I drew this art style, I tried a couple of different options on how to make it look good closed. This is what I went with. So if you notice here, the way I did this, I maintained a lot of the eyelid property here. You notice how it's still pointed down? I could have made this go completely like, you know, smile face emoji if I wanted to. It doesn't look good with how I drew it. This was the best way for me to make it look not cursed. So this is going to be the shape that we're going to try to achieve.
Okay.
As best as we can. So, how to do this? Well, make sure I click on this here. I'm going to take this point right here. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold down shift and move it down. And then I'm going to let go of that. Click on this point. Hold down shift, move down. And then I'm going to let go of shift. Take my point and move it inwards a bit. Take this point, hold down shift, and move it down. So you see how it's still following that same shape?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to take this point here, hold shift, and move all the way down. Actually, not too much. Then I'm going to take this one here, hold shift, and move it up. I'm going to take this one, and I'm not going to actually hold down shift. I'm actually just going to move it up like this. Take this point, I'm going to hold shift and move this up a bit. Take this point, I'm just going to move this. And now I'm not holding shift, I'm just trying to make this look a little bit nicer. And now I'm going to take this point, this up a little bit like that. And move this out. I'm just trying to make that shape match where it looks like it's closed. Because again, we want it to have a nice little droop motion. And I stopped holding shift because it makes it a little bit easier. But I did it as like my base, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Trying to get that nice droop motion. Without making the mesh look all bleh. Okay. I like that. And I'll squish this in just a little bit. Pushing it in. Okay. Now, it's definitely not connected to how I said like the corner here. So what I'm going to do is click on this again to reset those points. And I'm going to click on the middle here, hold shift, and move it up a little bit. And now we're going to keep deforming it until I get that nice droop motion that I like. I might need to move this over a little bit more. I might even need to add more points. So if I need to add a point, I'm just going to click on this dot here, open up the deform path edit, and add another point. And then I'm going to click on this dot again, and then add another point. The reason why you want to do that is because if I try to just add a point over here, it's going to mess up. Because you're trying to connect this dot to the over here. So I try to keep it in the right order, which is why I have to click on these dots whenever I want to add a new one.
Oh, I see.
I'm going to click on the selection tool again. And then when you're done, you just click on Yeah, the arrow tool. Okay. Now I'm going to click on the upper lid again to reset the points. And now we're going to start manipulating that mesh just a little bit more. I'm trying to keep these parallel to each other because obviously if I move this over, that doesn't look natural. That doesn't look right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make sure I don't have this go too far off. And I'm just gonna move this down a bit more. It's really helpful having this part up here because it's giving me a good indication of, oh, okay, so this is where everything is. I actually don't need to be too droopy. I could just keep it like that. So if I click off of this just to kind of see how this looks so far, we can see how it's closing. Not particularly a huge fan of this being bigger and smaller.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind it being kind of like this and not going up and big like that. So if I click on this layer again, I kind of want it to stay more like that. So what that tells me is I need to move this in more and I need to move this in more. Now, let's see how that looks. That's better. That is definitely better. However, I still think we could adjust this a bit more. And so, how we're going to do that is by grabbing the Deform Brush tool. So if you go up to the toolbar, instead of the Deform Path Edit, you're going to click on the Deform Brush tool.
Okay.
And now you've got this big space right here.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the little vertices, and we're just going to slightly move these in. Just ever so gently. I'm going to go to the outside. Just kind of make it a little bit smaller. Just a little bit. Okay, now let's see how that looks. Looks a lot nicer. Yes. Especially compared to how I have it like this. So, I'm going to click on this again. Going to move this point down still. Make that nice. So it's still following the shape. Just smaller. There we go. And I'm going to take the brush again and just make these little points here. I want to get a bit more precision. So if you go into the tool details, the weight is how strong the effect is, whereas the brush size makes it bigger and smaller. So when it was a smaller brush, you can make it a lot smaller. And the stiffness is the outer circle that you see there. So the higher the stiffness, the more effective it's going to be. Whereas the lower the stiffness, the more gentle it's going to be. I'm going to keep it at 20. I just want to make it so these points are getting a little more squished. You see how I have it going in a more unified line compared to being all chunky out like that?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do. I want it to have a certain shape. So, let's see. Yeah, like this is the kind of shape that I'm going for. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. I like that. I like that. Could probably make this just go down a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So if you want to take the point and just move it just a little bit more like that. Yeah, that looks good. Now we can move on to the next part. I'm going to take the upper lid, the one that we duplicated. I'm going to hide it now because we don't need it. Now it's time to move all the other parts on here. I'm actually going to hide the iris for now, just to make it a little bit easier for us to see the eyelashes. For the eyelashes, we could do a couple of different ways on how to do this. I'm going to try to keep it simple for us.
Okay.
Where I'm going to click on R-4, which is this one over here. Going to make sure I right click on this point, right, this key, to make sure that one's selected. And now we're going to go right to the center here. We're going to click and hold shift and just move it down. And then I'm going to tilt this a little bit. Actually, we don't have to hold shift. We can kind of make this move a little bit more like that. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to make more finer detail adjustments. Because right now it looks like this. And yeah, we will make some adjustments to it. I'm just trying to get the base movement. So now we're going to move on to the next eyelash. We're going to click on the one up top, R-3. We're going to right click this key right here. And now we're just going to click on the middle, hold shift, and just go all the way down to right here. Now, some people like do this whole trick where right here, they'll do this whole like flipping it down like that. And then they'll like, you know, they'll make it match exactly opposite of however it was up top. I'm not going to do that. Just for the sake of simplicity. I'm just going to click on this, hold shift, and just go all the way down until it pokes out like this. And then I'm just going to go to the side here and just rotate that out until it connects. And then I'm going to move this up a little bit. And it's fine like that. It's fine like that. There we go. And now we're just going to do the same thing for this one here, R-2. We're going to go up over here. Take this. Hold shift. Move all the way down until it pokes out like that. Bring it as close to the edge as possible. Go to the side and rotate it until it matches the angle, and then move it up to connect. And that looks fine. And now we're going to do it for this one. R-1. I'm going to make sure this key is selected. I'm going to take this and move it all the way down to about here. Because if you remember the eye detail, this sticks out on top like this. So it's important to not have it go downwards, because if you do, I mean, that just looks kind of weird.
Yeah.
You have to...
That'd be a weird eyelash.
Yes, you have to respect the art, how it was drawn. So this one is not going to go as far. So I'm actually going to make this until it sticks out about here. And then I'm going to just rotate it out like that. So it just sticks out just a tiny bit. Because the theory behind it is that, remember, when your eye closes, your eyelashes get squished together a little bit. So this is going to get squished closer to that. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. The next part that we're going to do, I think, is going to be the eye whites. And I'm only going to do this because I think it's a little bit easier to kind of do the side and then the bottom lid. So now we're going to take the eye whites and click on this and then press S to solo it, just so I can see it. And then we're going to click on the key down here. This is going to be really easy. So you're going to hold down Alt on the eye close part. You want to make sure the key's selected, Cora.
Oh, I see.
And now you're going to hold down Alt and you're going to go up to the little red box up here. And then you're going to drag it down.
Ah.
All the way until it's really, really like thin, like this. And now we're going to let go of that. We're going to hover over the red box until it looks like the little movie tool. I'm going to click on it, hold shift and move it down a bit. And now we're going to take the deform path edit and we're going to just draw a couple of points here. I'm going to do 4 for now, and that's fine. And then we're going to click on the arrow tool. I'm going to check this little red box. I'm going to click on that because it gets rid of that red box because it's kind of distracting. And now I'm going to take the eye whites and just kind of follow along the line of the main lash. So towards like the edge a bit. And just kind of curve it just like that. And then click on the side here. Press S again to get rid of the solo mode. And now let's see how that looks. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Now let's go back to the eyeball R warp and make the iris appear again. Just so we can see how that all looks together with the iris there. And look at that, it disappears. Now we just gotta have the side lash and then the bottom lid go up with it. Something in my eye. Okay.
Probably cat hair.
Probably. Okay. So now we're gonna take the lower lid. Press S to solo so it's a little bit easier to see. We're going to take the deform path edit again. And I'm just going to start at this point here. I'm going to do 4. Yeah, I'll do it like this. There we go. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 5. Press the arrow tool again. And now we're going to make sure that the closed key is selected. We're going to take this and move it all the way up, holding shift as we move this up. Until it's just about towards the outer line of this. We're going to close out of the red box by hitting the X button here. And now I'm going to take this point, hold shift and move it up slightly. I'm going to take this point now, hold shift and move it down slightly. Click on this one down slightly. Click on this one, move this one down slightly. And then click on the side, press S to deselect. And let's see how that looks. Okay. So, you see how, as I'm closing the eye, it looks kind of cursed because it's not fully up with the white?
Yeah.
That means we have to move the bottom lid up a bit more. So we're going to click on the lower lid again. And then we're going to click on the closed eye keyframe. And we're just going to move it up a little bit. And now let's see how that looks. It's close. Okay. It's close. So now, here's a little trick. Select the R white and the lower lid by holding control on both of these. So you select both of them. And then press S to solo it. Now click on the side here. So now we can see exactly where we need to put the lower lid up to where the eye white is. So if we click on the lower lid again, we make sure it's on the closed keyframe here. We can move it up just to where it is barely touching it. I'm going to close out of the red box here because I want to move this little point right along the side. I might need to add another point here. The middle. I want to move that just next to it. So it's like barely touching. And I can probably move this one down a little bit like that. Yeah. Okay. Now we'll click outside the side here. And then we'll deselect it by pressing S. And now let's see how that looks. Hey, look at that!
Ooh.
It matches along the sides. Now all we gotta do is the side lash right here. Because remember how like this is closing? You see how like this part over here is a little awkward?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to smooth that out with the side lash right here. And we might have to deform this lash a little bit too. But now we're gonna click on R lash 5. This is your side lash. And we're gonna solo it by pressing S. We're gonna click on the deform path edit. I'm gonna start from this point here, following along like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. This should be enough. Click on the arrow, click outside, click on R lash 5 again. And now we're gonna go to the close keyframe. So typically how you want to make the side lash close, again, it always depends on the art style. We kind of wanted to follow alongside the eye white, so we wanted to curve inward towards the eye whites. So I'm going to click out of the red box here because it's a little distracting. So I want it to curve inward and go on the side like this. So it's going to curve out a bit and get squished in. And now let's see how this looks. I think I want this to squish in a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. And click on the side. I'm going to deselect this just so I can see how it all looks. And it is following the eye white pretty well. It's actually fine. I like this. Now, the only thing we have to fix is this part right here because this looks kind of weird.
Yeah.
And if you notice, like, the way I drew it, this does come in a little bit. It's not the end of the world. What matters is the movement ratio. Like, you see how it's kind of moving along? And it looks good enough. Remember, eye blinks are pretty fast, so it doesn't have to be super meticulous in terms of like, oh, it has to be this distance apart. Because technically, yes, that would be accurate, but eye blinks are really fast, and no one's gonna like really notice that bit of a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's fix this eyelash here. They are lash 4. Let's go back to the closed part of it. I think what we're gonna do is take the brush. We're gonna do the deform brush tool. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit, and we're just gonna get some of these points to connect just a little bit. And now let's see how that looks. That looks terrible. I hate that. I hate that so much. I really hate that. I really hate that so bad. Oh, God. So, what I'm going to do... I think how I did it was I squished it in more. I think that's what I did for this. Yeah, I did. I squished it. Yeah, okay. 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 So. There's a couple different options that we could do. Option 1 is I can keep deforming, which is the 2 keyframes. Or option 2 is right when it gets kind of to the halfway point, like about here, I could make another key specifically for this, where I have it about 0.3, and I would click on this little dot right here. This is going to add a single keyform.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to add this single keyform.
You said you're at 0.3?
Yeah. And I added a single keyform. And
Okay.
now I'm going to take the brush tool again, the deform brush tool. I'm just gonna move this so that way it is more in line with my lash. So it's like a half closed eye. Now I'm gonna hit my arrow key, click out of here, and let's see how that looks. It is a lot
mine
better.
Still kind of has. Yeah, mine still is like at the beginning, like a little.
That's okay. Because what we can do to help that is that same keyform, if we select that,
Mm-hmm.
and then click on the main upper lid, we can add that same exact keyform here. So as long as we snapped it right there, we just click the little green dot right there again. And I'm going to take the deformed brush tool and just make it a little bit bigger. And out a little bit more. And now it is a lot smoother. Yeah. Yeah. And this is why doing eye close can take forever, especially if you have a super detailed model and you're trying to get super precise. For base-chan, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is probably as simple as we can go with it, and it's not the end of the world. Again, you can take quite a while trying to get as much precision as you want, and you can see how this could take a bit, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But this is like the general base of doing eye closed. There is one special trick that we could do. The only thing is that Base-chan's eyes are literally just a black circle. It's just this soulless looking pupil. So I'm just going to show you what the trick is on the other example file that I will upload later after this stream of what it is, because we're not going to actually do it. This is just if you have like a detailed eye and you want a more realistic eye close, what what you could do is you could take the eyeball R warp and you can make a keyframe for the eye R open. And what you do is, if you see the deformer, it's moving down. All I did was like take the eye open and just take the deformer and move it down slightly. And that gives it a more natural and realistic eye open and close. But you can't really notice the difference in that because, well, she doesn't have any eye details. So, you know, actually, I guess you can kind of notice it, huh? Fine, we'll do it. We'll do it. We'll do it. You ready, Cora?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to take the eyeball R warp, not the actual mesh itself, the warp.
Eyeball R.
Warp.
Eyeball R. Okay.
Yep. And we're going to go to the close keyframe. And we're going to go to the center, hold shift, and just move it down slightly. Not too much, just a little bit. And there you go. You have a more natural eye open and close. Yay! You're done. You did it. You did the eye close.
It looks so good.
Yes. Now, I'm just taking a stretch. Make sure you stretch. I'm going to do a little bonus lesson here. I'm going to show you how to do eye smile. And then we'll copy and flip the eye over. So, eye smile, the best way to describe it is like you have your eyes, you know, opening and closing normally. But sometimes when you're really happy and you're smiling really nice and big and your cheeks get all puffed up, your eye tends to also, like the lower part of it tends to go up a bit. And when you go to close your eye, it looks happy. So we're going to do that. This is how we're going to do it.
Okay.
We're going to reset this to default values. We're going to right click on IR open on the open keyframe. We're going to go over to this little arrow here and press select. Then we're going to hold control and click on the iris and the eyeball R warp because these are not going to be a part of eye smile. And now we're going to go over to the eye smile keyframe and we're going to click on the two dots. So this, and now we can click on the side here. This is how eye smile works. The 0 key right here is the default where it's turned off. To enable eye smile, it would go all the way up to 1. This is how a lot of toggles work too, which we will go on to future lessons. So it's off when it's down to 0, and it's on when it's on to 1. Now, we got to be very careful because this is how we kind of do parameter layering. And this can get very tricky because if you're not selecting the correct parameter, you can mess up the default values. So, for example, if I started doing the lower lid and I had this one selected because this is turning it, and this is enabling it, right? If I had this parameter selected and I started doing all of this crazy stuff, then it might look normal when I'm doing my eye open and close when this is enabled, but when it's not, look at that. It just got all messed up because it's not the it's not the correct thing. So here we go. I'm going to do this again. Okay. So this is how we make sure that we do it correctly. We're going to select the lower lid. Our lower lid. And then we're going to make sure it's on the open part by right-clicking it. And now we're going to right-click on IR Smile. We want to make sure that this part is highlighted, so that way we are for sure about to deform this when it's toggled on. We're not messing with the default eye open. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to make this move slightly up. Just a little bit. Because that's kind of how your cheeks move. We just kind of make it move up a little bit like that. And now we're going to make the eye our white, the sclera, do the same thing. And you're probably thinking, oh god, this is all like messed up and weird. Oh god. So it's okay. We're going to go back to the deform path edit. And we're going to hit the trash can to get rid of all of that. And now I'm going to draw new points to it. I'm just going to go in a circle. And connect all around. I'm actually going to go around here and add one more point and move that down. And move this point over a little bit. Fun fact, if you want to make this a little bit more precise, you can click on this little fold line and then go over to this part right here, and now it's more pointy.
Oh.
Cool. All right, now we're going to hit arrow. And now I'm going to make sure that it is selected on the eye smile. And now I'm just going to move the eye white up just a little bit to match. I might need a new point. I didn't add enough points. Okay. Gonna make this go up. Gonna make this go up. Gonna have to move the lower eyelid just a little bit more so it matches. There we go. And just to see how that looks, I think I can mess with this side a little bit more. I need to add a new point right here. You see how I'm kind of like going with like adding new points because I needed more.
Yeah.
Now I'm just gonna move this a little again. All right. Probably didn't do it as much for this one. Yeah, no, I literally just moved it up. That's okay. It doesn't have to look exactly the same as my other example file. But I will make this move just up a little bit. And now make the lower lid. Yeah. Alright. So now it kinda looks... I'm gonna make this move up just a bit more. I just want her to look like she's happy.
How's that look?
Yeah, Cora, yours looks great.
Ooh.
Mine is slacking a little bit, but it's okay. Honestly, that should be enough. That should be enough. You can tell. You can tell it's there. It's there a little bit. It's there. All right. So this is the first part to this. Now we have to do it with the eye closed. Because right now it's not indicating that change. So we're going to close the eye. And now we're gonna take all of the lashes and start making her look happy. So let's start with the upper eyelid. I'm actually gonna re-show the second copied eyelid that we did so I can kind of use it as like a guide, a visual aid, so to say.
Okay.
And I'm gonna select the upper eyelid. And right now I currently have the closed eye selected. We don't want that. We want to make sure we have eye smile enabled. Otherwise, it's going to mess up our default eye open and close.
Gotcha.
So then now that this is selected, I'm now going to try to make this look a little similar to this. Because, you know, I wanted it to look more happy. You know, kind of like, you know, happy. So, I'm going to close out of this box. And I'm just going to start moving these points up. Until it looks a little similar to this. It doesn't have to be fully round like that. I'm just kind of using it as like a little guide. This one down. Move this one down. This one up. And need to move this point down. Let's see here. This part up. This up. This up. Kind of looks like a wink, I think. Let's see. Yeah, okay. And now I'm going to move this back up because this is way too down. This is way too low. I'm going to move this up a little. Actually, how far? Just a little bit. There you go. Yeah, okay, alright. That looks a lot happier. And now we take the lower lid. Actually, we could probably do the eye white instead. So for the eye whites, we're gonna make sure that it is the eye, our smile that is selected. And we're gonna move. Actually, I'm gonna hide this lid. Oops, not this one. This one. I don't need it. Gonna move this up. Click out of that. And before I start messing around with this is still a circle, so I'm gonna go back in here to the deform path edit. Use the trash can to delete this. And then just draw some new points. And now I'm just gonna line this up to be about the upper eyelash again. Alright. Now let's see how that looks. Looks good. Now we can move the bottom lash. Or the lower lid. So make sure this is selected. Make sure it's selected on the IR smile. We're going to move it all the way up. And if you have any questions, Corey, don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah. I just think I'm gonna move this. I should have moved this more. I didn't move it up enough. I gotta change my R white again. I guess I could just move that up too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm learning. And then which one are you doing? The lower line?
Yep. I'm moving that up.
Okay. Moved it up and then curved it too?
Yeah. To kind of match the eye white, so that way it looks natural. And now I'm gonna move this side lash. Make sure this is selected, the IR smile. Just gonna move that up. And then I'm gonna take this eyelash. I'm just basically moving the eyelashes back up to their normal position again. Which is in our favor because we didn't flip the eyelashes. Because if we had flipped them, then we would have had to flip them again. So this is why I'm happy that we kind of kept it simple. Not have to do any of that. We can literally just move these eyelashes just back up. So it just goes back up to its normal position. And then this one up here can go up. Yeah, they're just back in their normal positions, and now we just gotta do the side one. The side one just needs to fold back into here. So this is just gonna go in like this, out of this box. And I'm just kind of making it line on the outside of the bottom lash here.
Mm-hmm.
That way it looks more filled. And look at that! You can kind of see how it looks like this part is still kind of messing up. So we're going to go back to here and refine that again. Yeah, okay. Take the little brush. I'm going to move that up. Okay, let's see how that looks. See why this could be happening. I have a couple different options. Either option 1, I fix it with the main lash, which I might try. Option 2 would be I try to fix it with the side lash. Okay, let's see. Take this, move this down. Just squish it in. You just kind of want to make it look nice. And yeah, this does unfortunately take time. Beauty takes time.
Mm-hmm.
This is also why it costs thousands of dollars to pay for this kind of stuff. Because as you can see, this is very time consuming. Especially if you want it to look good, you know? Okay. Let's see, does that help? A little bit. Think. You see how that looks. I think this looks fine. Because again, this happens really fast, so it's minute at the end of the day. Like, your model's not going to be zoomed in like this where people can see. Oh, I
Yeah.
see it looks a little slightly off. It's my art style, all right? It's my art style, all right? Like, don't judge. I think this looks fine. So now we get to see how it looks with it when it's opened. So now make sure that the IR smile is toggled on, and let's see how that looks when it's open. Oh no! Do you see how it all breaks like that? Why is
Yeah.
that? It's because we added this additional keyframe.
Oh.
If we didn't have that enabled, because on my example file, I did not have it enabled, it works just fine. It just continues to go through as if nothing, it just follows through. But because we have this additional keyframe, we have to fix this keyframe when IR Smile is enabled. So, how we do that is we go to each of these little eyelashes, and we want to make sure we don't have this keyframe selected, but it is on this one. We just want to make sure we have IR Smiles keyframe selected. And now we just fix it. Select this one, and just oops, that is bugging out. Sometimes Cubism bugs out, and see how it's not selecting it correctly. So I gotta close this really quickly and reopen
Yeah,
it.
mine's doing the same thing.
Okay, that's fine.
Can't select it.
That's fine. So I will just gotta hide this real quick. Make sure you saved, by the way. Now I'm just gonna reopen it.
I saved.
It happens sometimes when you have the editor open for a long period of time. Sometimes it just bugs out. Now it's reloading. Okay. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create another keyframe again on here. So currently, this keyframe doesn't exist with I smile toggled on.
I gotta get back to where I was.
Yeah, no worries.
Need to click something.
So click on any eyelash just to open it back up.
Oh, there we go.
You can click on this eyelash, the ones that we made those keyframes for. Currently, with IR Smile open, this keyframe doesn't exist, so we have to make this keyframe. So we're going to...
Yeah. I saved it, but maybe it didn't open the right one.
No, it's fine. When you have when you have IR Smile not toggled on, the keyframe exists. But because we have it toggled on, it doesn't exist anymore.
Because mine's not closing. That's what I'm saying.
Your eyes just not closing?
Yeah. Oh wait, I'm silly. Ignore me. Okay.
You got it?
Yeah. I was like, wait, how did I get my eyes to close again? But I got it.
So because we have this extra keyframe, it does complicate things a little bit. So we do have to enable this keyframe for those eyelashes. So this right here, we're going to enable this keyframe by right-clicking on that and enabling it. Now that it's enabled, we're going to go back to IR Smile. And we're going to take the eyelash and we're going to move it down just a little bit. And we're going to do the same thing for this one. I'm going to click on that one. I'm going to click on this keyframe. Going to enable it. Go back to the IR Smile keyframe. and move it back
Can't tell if
down.
I'm putting it on the lash line.
You can hide the iris. Is that way you can tell?
There we go.
And now we're gonna do that for this one. Okay. Now, I gotta do it for this one too. Gotta do it for this one too. Right click, add that keyframe, go back to IR Smile, and move that back down. Okay. Now let's see how this looks with it toggled on and toggled off. Okay. All right. It's working. Yeah, let's put the iris back in there. I will say it looks like we're gonna have to adjust the eye white because obviously the eye white shouldn't be popping out like that, so we will have to do another keyframe for the eye white. But I just want to make sure this part works. Okay. Okay. Yup. And now if it's disabled, I want to make sure that this is still working. We didn't break anything. Okay. So now we got to do the eye whites.
Okay.
Now we're going to go to the eye whites. Going to solo it so it's easier to see. We're going to make this keyframe. Then we're going to go back to the IR Smile. I'm going to go to the Deform Path tool and just delete this. And I think I'm going to make a new one. It's going to go around. And let's see. Make sure this is selected. Got it. That's. Now I'm just gonna start making the eye white. Kind of follow a similar shape to how the eyelid is going. And I see that this point here is being kind of weird because that's okay. We'll just move that back down. Gonna move this point in. All right. Okay. All right. So it looks like I gotta fix the side lash and the lower lash. Actually, I still need to fix the eye white a little bit. There we go. See how I'm just using all these different tools? Tools are meant to help you. Don't be afraid to experiment with your tools. And I know some of you are asking me questions about other areas of like the Live2D stuff. I unfortunately don't have a lot of time to answer questions about like the mouth. Like when we do future lessons, we'll go over all like other areas about Live2D. I don't want to go on too many tangents tonight because we're almost done with this and this is pretty much the end of the lesson. So if you have any questions that has not been covered in today's lesson, please leave a comment under this live stream. So that way when we do future lessons, or I can make shorts or future videos about those specific questions. So if you have anything about like the mouth, if you want to know anything else about like eye rigging or like other parts like that, please feel free to leave comments down below so I can answer them in a future video. Because we're almost done. I'm just going to fix this little minor detail and then we're going to copy and flip this over and then we are done. So now I gotta do this for the bottom lid where we have to make this keyframe exist because it does not exist. We need it to exist. And now we're gonna go back to Eye Smile. Move this up. Make this kind of fit a little bit better. Okay. And now we're gonna do the side. Do this here. Go back in here. Gonna make this go up. Alright. Okay, now I don't like that part sticking out. Gonna make this up. Alright, let's see how this looks. A little cursed right there. Okay.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
That's okay. I'll just bill you later. I'm just kidding.
What?
Cora, are you gonna join us for the game tomorrow?
Yes. Is it the
The
game I'm thinking?
office one?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because I think it'll be you, me, the mods, and some of our YouTube members. So if you haven't had a chance to join the YouTube members, I suggest you do, because tomorrow we're going to play a collaborative game on stream.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, you happy with how it's coming out?
Yeah.
Cool. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. This is just to demonstrate the lesson today. I do want to make sure it's at least consistent. All right. Now let's see how this looks without the eye smile enabled. Okay, normal. Now let's enable eye smile and see how that looks. So I also got to do this for the main lash too.
Why does my eyeball look like it's folding in on itself? You see it?
Let me see. Sometimes, so in theory, when your eyes are like doing the smile thing, there's some parts that you're just not gonna see. So it might look cursed when you're doing the actual modeling. So don't,
Yeah.
don't fret too much.
Funny. Adds character.
Yeah, exactly. I'm actually gonna make that a little bit more curved, which means I have to now redo this part again. It's okay. It's all about the finer details in life. That's what I tell myself.
Yes.
I think I think someone was asking me earlier how long I've been doing Live2D rigging. I started when I first started VTubing. Like, I wanted to learn how to do it myself because I'm very poor. So I had to kind of learn how to do this myself. Plus, I really like seeing I like seeing the creations come to life. Like, I like being able to be in control of like the movements and stuff. I just think it's really cool. There's a lot of fun things you can do with Live2D. And if you have the patience and you're willing to go through the skill curve of it, you can do so many amazing things with this. Again, if you have the patience for it, because as you can see, we're just doing the eyeball of a chibi. A simple chibi. Something that could help for anyone who's trying to do eye smile or eye close, especially if you're not an artist and you're like really struggling, you could have the artist draw you references for eye smile and eye close. And that way you're literally just following a guide the entire time. And that can make it so much easier for you. I did not draw myself any guides for this because I'm a dummy. But also, I wanted to make sure like Cora got a good baseline of like an idea, because you're not always gonna get guides, right? Usually artists charge extra, rightfully so. And as you get more comfortable with this, you'll kind of have a good idea of how things should look. Plus, always look up references too. References of your friends. All right, now let's see. That's a lot better. Okay. Okay. All right, let's see how that looks. Yeah, there we go. We did it. We have it. Awesome. Now, all that's left, of course, you want to save it. All that's left is to copy and flip it over.
All right.
So this is how we're going to do it. We're going to go over to iOpen. You're going to click on whatever point, doesn't matter. You can go over to the side here and press select. So you have everything selected. Everything. And now we're going to hit Control C. And then do Control
C.
Yep. And then Control V.
Okay.
So now you have two IRs. Don't click out of anything just yet while you have this all selected. Go inside this like container area. You're going to right click. And you're going to hit reflect. And then you're going to leave reflect horizontally checked on. And we're just going to press OK. And look at that. It reflected all the way over to the other eye.
Nice.
Now, just so you don't confuse yourself, you want to select the IR warp over here on this side. And we're just going to change that to IL warp under the inspector palette. Press enter. And now we're going to take the other IL, the one that is like closed up
above
here.
Yeah.
And we're just going to delete it.
Okay.
It's gone. Now you have this. And check this out.
Should we change the name of the eyeball R warp under it?
You can if you want to take the time to do all of that. Got all that.
I'm going to do it on just the one.
You're going to delete all of these other elements. I should have had you delete all of those elements. Okay.
Wait, which ones?
I should have had you delete all of the other elements because you only deleted the IL warp. That's okay. But look, they're linked. We don't want that. We want this side to be linked to the correct side, the IL. So we're going to select... I only renamed the IL warp deformer. It's still going to say IR, R for all of that. It's fine. Normally, yes, you'd want to rename it all again. There is that little fancy tool ID that helps you rename all of it. Don't worry about that. This just for the sake of the lesson. You're going to go under the IL warp. And you're going to highlight all the way down to the iris part of it. And you'll know you selected all correctly because you'll see this side is selected correctly. And now, under IR open, you're going to right click on any of the keys. Doesn't matter. You're going to go under this little arrow thing here. And you're going to select change. And then we're going to scroll down until we see IL open. I'm going to click on that and press OK. And now, this eye is controlled by your IL open.
So I didn't see which ones you deleted.
So if you close your eyes...
Close both of them?
Yeah, just close the eyes. Do you see how there's still a bunch of eye left over, even though you just closed it? That's what you want to delete. Yeah, so you want to delete that IL warp area. Yeah, you want to delete that. Yeah, that and the actual eye. You want to delete all of that extra texture because it's copied. Yep. And then all the lashes for that too. If you go up to your deformer palette, yeah, up top, that right there. You're going to highlight all of those by holding shift and then delete those.
Hello?
So you want to click it, hold shift, and click the second one all the way down. Yeah, and then delete that.
There we
There
go.
you go. So
Okay.
now you have them moving independent.
Oh, I think I got rid of one of the irises. No. It's fine.
It's okay. For the purpose of the lesson, I think you got it. So now what we're gonna
Yeah.
do is we're going to get IR smile on this side to go to IL smile.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do is we're actually going to select everything that's in IR smile. So we're going to click on the keyframe here. We're going to press select just so I can see what parts are keyed to IR smile. Okay. So I see that right here in the IL warp container, this is what's selected for IR smile. Now I can click out of it. And I'm going to click up top. Now I'm going to hold shift. And now I'm going to click down here. So all of this gets selected.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to go to IR Smile, right click it, go over to this little arrow and press change. And now we're going to select IL Smile and press OK. And now you have them moving independently. So now they're all separated.
Yeah.
Let me reset this. We're gonna hit save. Always gotta save. And now you did it! Oh goodness, that took 3 hours.
Holy.
So, Cora, compared to lesson 1, how did you feel about lesson 2?
Honestly, this one, like, there's a lot of new things to learn, but it's once like seeing it being done and doing it myself, it's not that bad at all. It's really like kind of straightforward. Like the auto, what is it called? The
Auto mesh?
pen that we use.
Oh yeah. The auto mesh
That
generator.
brush?
The
Yeah.
deformer brush. Yeah, there's lots of tools that you can use. And what's kind of, when it's your first time with Live2D, I remember when I rigged my first model. It there's things that are just wrong with its neck. I don't know what happened to her. Like,
Oh no.
yeah. It takes a lot of practice to kind of get things the way you want them to be, and it can be very frustrating the first time. Like how you had accidentally deleted your iris.
Yeah.
Like that stuff like that happens. That's why it's always important to have different copies whenever you're going to do something new. It's not that uncommon to have multiple save files. Also, worst case, if you had messed up, you can always go under file and what's it called? I'm trying to remember where it's saved, but you can actually open like a previous version of your file, because Live2D Cubism saves, like, you know how like when we're editing in Adobe Premiere Pro, it has like these like mini little files that save in like a temporary folder space.
Mm-hmm.
Live2D Cubism does the same exact thing, where there's many little previous versions of your model file that are saved, and you can like set how many of those it saves in like a temporary folder. Don't quote me on how to do all of that just yet, because it's been a long time since I've done that. I just save a copy whenever I do something new. So that's why, if you noticed, when I upload these lessons, I have L2A, L2B, and L2C. This is the warp deformer for body Z. This one is the rotation deformer for body Z. And this is the eye blinking. Like, I did 3 different copies just in case if I messed up and I need to go back. That's just how I personally go about it. But there is like a temporary one that you can do as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah. So that way you don't waste all that hard work, you know? Like, because it sucks, right?
It does.
But With that being said, I would just like to say thank you so much, my Cora, for being my student for this again. Please, everybody, make sure you follow her on my Cora Not Found on both Twitter and YouTube. I would like to just say thank you so much to Live2D Cubism for sponsoring today's video. And Cora, did you have any final like words or like advice or just anything you want to share about your experience today?
Final words are, I have fun and I appreciate you taking the time teaching me, and I appreciate just being here. I really am, it's opened my eyes a lot, and I'm excited to kind of do more with this.
Heck yeah! Open the eyes. Poor Base Chan's eyes. I'm there. Hey,
You see my wordplay.
yeah, exactly. All right, everyone. Well, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, everybody who had gifted subs and also rated on both Twitch and YouTube. I really appreciate that a lot. Tomorrow, you will see my Cora again, as well as me with all the other mods. We're going to be playing some fun games tomorrow. And yeah, with that being said, everyone, thank you so much for watching. And remember, everything reminds you of something. Bye, everyone!